was he a moral man, an upright man? No, he wasn't. So Samson's not a role model at all. Okay, so Samson goes down to Gaza. Okay, and why did he go to Gaza, Pam? Right. That's why he went to Gaza. Okay, now, um, did Samson, I think this is a key point here. Did Samson have any fear of the Philistines? No. Okay, so the Philistines are ruling ruling over. They are oppressing the Israelites, and Samson didn't have any fear of the Philistines at all. And we can tell this because he goes to Gaza. And he's enemies with the Philistines, and he's mortal enemies with them, but he doesn't care at all about going to Gaza, where the Philistines, that's their city. Doesn't care because doesn't have any fear of the Philistines at all. So he goes down there to see a harlot, a prostitute, and so and so it's doesn't make a secret of it, doesn't try to hide it, goes right into the city, and they all know it. So the Philistines, what do they plan when they find out that here's Samson right in our midst? What do they do? But Bill, they were going to stay at the city gate all night, to wait for him in the morning, and then try to kill him. Yeah. So they said, "We got him. We got our enemy. We got Samson. All we have to do is wait until morning, and then we can kill Samson." So they were gonna kill Samson. Now, why would Samson go to Gaza and not stay in Israel? Why is he going to Gaza?
He's doing the behest of God as far as afflicting the Philistines.
Exactly. I mean, this was brought out back earlier in his life when he told his father, so I see a woman over here, and she's a Philistine. He says, go get her for a wife. And his father said, what's that all about? Isn't there women here in Israel you can have? And what was brought out about that? What did it say, Pam?
It says she was right for his eyes.
Right for his eyes, but there was another kind of explanation given about why. Cindy?
He was going to use her as a means to get into the Philistines to take them out, because this is all God's plan.
It was an opportunity to get at his enemies, the Philistines. So Samson was always looking for what? Another way of saying it is Samson's looking for what? He's always spoiling for a fight. Alright? That's what Samson's all about. He's always wanting to fight the Philistines. So he went to Gaza not only for a harlot, but to fight the Philistines. He's always wanting to fight them. The Philistines are the enemies of the Israelites. So Samson goes to Gaza not only for a harlot, but he's always spoiling for a fight. He's wanting to fight the Philistines, daring them. Come on, fight me. That's what he always wants to do. That's Samson. Okay? That's what he wants to do. So Samson, they're going to wait till morning to try to kill Samson. But Samson doesn't wait till morning. What's he do?
He leaves at midnight.
He gets up at midnight, and then he gets up at midnight. Well, why didn't the Philistines attack Samson when he got up at midnight? Yeah, city.
Well, it says that he took a hold of the doors of the gate of the city, the posts and all, just pulled them up and they carried them to the.
Okay, so we're not really told why they didn't attack him when he got up at midnight. Either they were all asleep and they didn't get up and attack him, or maybe when he pulled up the posts and the gate and the doors of the city, that's what they do at night. They lock them all, so you can't get out. No one can come in, no one coming out. So when he did all that, maybe he just scared them all so bad that they didn't attack him. So here's the illustration of him pulling up these huge doors of the city gate, carrying them away, and they're onlooking. Of course, this is pictured in daytime. Of course, you couldn't see anything at night. But this is pictured in daytime so you can see it. So here's the Philistines looking and saying, I don't want to fight that guy. Because he'll kill us all. But he won't. So either they were asleep and didn't see it, or they're saying, oh, no, not me. You fight, not me. So Samson pulled up the gates and everything, carried them away. Of course, we don't know exactly what that looked like. The artists kind of render it, see what they might think it looks like. And where did he take the doors and the gates of the city? It says where he took them.
To the top of the mountain.
A mountain that was opposite Hebron. How far away is that, approximately? From Gaza? A good ways, which is approximately about 38 miles. Wow. 38 miles to the mountain that was opposite. 38 miles. Quite a ways. Okay. Now, from this point to where it says in verse 4, after that, they say is a period of about, I don't know if that, I don't remember when, maybe from 15 to 16 or from 16 to verse 4, they say is a period of 20 years. I don't remember which. But a long time period between those two events. Okay? Maybe from 15 to 16. Or from 16, or from that, from Gaza event to verse 4. Okay? Long time period. So, after this, it says, came about that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek. Where did Delilah live? Where's that? Valley of Sorek. Wait a minute, we have a couple other things down here. Why didn't the Israelites make Samson their leader and fight the Philistines? I mean, here Samson's an actual leader. He's kind of invincible. So why didn't they make Samson
their leader? Why wouldn't they? I mean, Samson's kind of like the ideal, like, deliverer, judge. He can defeat anyone. We just discussed that he's not the role model. A role model that, I mean, when Gideon was chosen as a judge, God says you got to clean up your act, didn't he? You got idols on your properties. You got to clean those up. So God wants a judge, a deliverer, not only to be, one who will lead the fight, but he wants him to be a moral man. Samson's not a role model. So maybe the Israelites saw this as well and said, we don't want him to be our leader. He's not an appropriate leader.
He wanted to do what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it.
Right. So, did the Israelites and Samson both fail to do as God commanded during this time period? They kind of both. The Israelites didn't support Samson, and Samson didn't do as he's supposed to do either, really. The Israelites says we're not doing what they're supposed to do. And Samson wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. Both had faults. But God still was with Samson, even though he had faults. He was still helping Samson do what he wanted to do when he was fighting the Philistines. Just wanted to make that point before we go on. Okay? So, back to Delilah. Where did she live again? Valley of Sorek, which was, I don't have the map up here, you have to look, you have to remember where that was. It was in, what land was it in? Was it in the Philistines area or the Israelite area?
Philistines.
It was in the Israelite area. It was near where Samson lived. So it was where the Israelites are. Okay? So it was close to where Samson actually lived. Alright? Now, so the story goes that the lords of the Philistines, this usually it says 5 lords, but here it says just lords. The lords of the Philistines came to Delilah, and what they say to Delilah? Pam?
They wanted her to seduce him so they could tell, she could find out where his strength lies.
They said, by now Samson's a real pain to the Philistines. They found out, many times, sometimes, that they can't defeat Samson. So they got to find some way to find out the secret of his great strength. So they go to Delilah and said, entice Samson, find out the secret of his great strength, where it is, so that we may overpower him and bind him to afflict him, and we will each give you, how much? 5 lords of the Philistines, we will each give you what? 1,100 pieces of silver times 5. I tell you, that is a huge, huge amount of money. Okay? So, let's consider who was Delilah. Okay? We don't have hardly any information about Delilah. She lived in an Israelite area, but it doesn't say anything about her. Nothing. Okay? But from what I can gather, she could have been an Israelite. She could have been a Philistine. We don't know. Most people think that she was a harlot. Okay. That's just a guess. Okay, so what does Proverbs 7 say about the ways of a harlot? Go over there. Proverbs 7 say about the ways of a harlot. Just read the last part of Proverbs 7. And it kind of relates to what we're what we're looking at in Judges here. Proverbs 7, 21 through 27. Who wants to raise your hand and read that? Danielle.
With her many persuasions she entices him. With her flattering lips she seduces him. Suddenly he follows her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as one in fetters to the discipline of a fool. Until an arrow pierces through his liver, as a bird hastens to the snare, so he does not know that it will cost him his life. Now therefore, my sons, listen to me, and pay attention to the words of my mouth. Do not let your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. For many are the victims she has cast down, and numerous are all her slain. Her house is the way to Sheol, descending to the chambers of death.
Okay. Doesn't that kind of sound like the story that we're looking at right now? That Delilah is going to entice and seduce Samson, and it's going to end up in his death. And he has no clue as to what's going to happen to him. Not a clue.
I got the idea that she, her physical appearance and everything was very, very pleasing, because we're introduced to Samson about how that he told his mom and dad, get this woman for me because she looked good. So I think that Samson just would look on the physical appearance of the woman, find her pleasing, and would get somewhat whatever involvement with her that would allow her to have this play over.
This is kind of a depiction of Delilah having a meeting with the 5 lords of the Philistines, then making that offer to her, of them to entice them to say, you entice Samson, and we'll give you this huge sum of money. And like I said, we don't know anything about her other than what the Bible tells us. But it doesn't say anything about her family. It doesn't say anything about Samson and her getting married. It doesn't say anything about her at all. But you don't hear about anybody with them together. So Delilah, it seems like, when it talks about Samson and Delilah, you don't hear about her father, any of her family, any of Samson's family, when it talks about them. So you're kind of left with the impression that if it doesn't talk about her family or anything, then why is it talking about Samson and Delilah without the mention of a family? And with the Philistines always nearby with Delilah, kind of lets you think about why would that be? Kind of leads you to suspect that she has a close association with the Philistines. That kind of leads me to suspect that she has a profession of a harlot. Just my idea. Any other comments or anything on that? Oh, yeah.
Normally, the Bible pattern that I've always seen, when you got an Israelite woman, it's going to mention her father. And in every other pattern I see where it's not an Israelite person, it doesn't mention the father.
That's
Usually, the pattern that from Genesis to Revelation, I read it 3 times. If it's an Israelite woman, it will mention her father.
That's the idea that I was trying to get across. Is if there's a woman mentioned, if it's an Israelite woman, it would mention her family.
That's right.
And since it doesn't mention her family, then either she is an Israelite woman who's a harlot, or she's a Philistine, or something of that nature. So if there's no mention of her family, so at least it makes you suspicious
That she's not an Israelite.
that she's not an Israelite, or something of that nature. that's the suspicion of that one. Okay, so we go on now, and so why did Samson talk to her about his great strength? So Samson, he has this secret of his great strength, and she's enticing Samson because she's been offered this great sum of money. We have to look at this question. Samson has this one secret that makes him invulnerable. His great strength. So why is he even talking to her about this?
Because she keeps nagging him about where he gets his strength from, because she wants the money.
Why would he talk to her though?
Well, the very beginning, she's the one that brings it up. She just says, please tell me, where your strength lies. And I get the impression he's very proud and kind of cocky. He's playing a game with her.
We have to
I'm gonna tell her something.
we have to acknowledge the obvious. Samson has a weakness for women.
Duh.
Yes, duh. We have to acknowledge the obvious, Samson's weakness. That's what we have to acknowledge. Samson is in love with Delilah. He has a weakness for women. That's why he's talking to her. Samson's weakness for women. Okay? We have to acknowledge that. He's weak in that one respect.
Another thing, when you don't follow the marriage prophecy, there's things that's going to happen. And he's dealing with this woman intimately, and this is happening whether doing slavery or whatever. When you deal with someone for a while intimately, you're going to have a relationship. I don't care what your mindset is. And that's been proven even through slavery and all the kinds all down through history. You cannot be fooling around a woman and think that she's just some object, and you and you're not going to have a relationship. Impossible.
Exactly. Samson is involved with Delilah. That's his weakness. That's his downfall. That's his downfall. That's why he's talking to her. That's because he's involved with her.
Samson liked riddles too. He liked to be able to trick people with a riddle. That's how he started out at the beginning with his first marriage.
He thought he was smart as well as strong, but he's being outsmarted by Delilah.
Absolutely.
He's weak in that respect because he thought he couldn't be outsmarted. And he could very well be outsmarted because he was in love with Delilah.
Oh,
He thought he could trust her. Didn't he? He did. He thought he could trust her because he thought she loved him. He thought she loved him. He thought he could trust her. Therefore, he thought he could tell her the truth. He didn't at first, but that's why he talked to her, because he trusted her. That's why he talked to her. Okay? Because he trusted her. Okay? So, what is the first lie that Samson told Delilah? He didn't tell her the truth at first. She said, tell me the secret of your great strength. So Samson said something, but it was a lie. What's the first lie that he said, Pam?
He said to her, if they bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, then I shall become weak and be like any other man.
Yes, he said, that's the first lie he said to her. So she bound him. They got the 7 fresh bowstrings, and she bound his hands with the 7 fresh bowstrings, and she had men waiting in an inner room, waiting. And then she bound him with the bowstrings, and she said, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And what happened to the bowstring? What happened?
It broke.
It broke in such a manner. How does it describe how he broke the bowstring? Like they just burned out, just like that. Like it was nothing. Snap them is. You ever had one of those super tight bows with just one bowstring on it? I have. I've seen one of those. There's no way that you get 10 of us to break one of those strings. Just one. He was bound with 7 of them. There's no way that even 10 of us could break one of those bowstrings. But he broke 7 of them. Just like that. Okay? So, and she says, you've deceived me. You deceived me. But, yeah.
You know, the advantage of emphasizing the marriage prophecy is this. When you got a woman of this sort, especially if she's, in this kind of lifestyle, she has an advantage over him because she's accustomed to dealing with different types of men. And she's a businesswoman. And she got her mind on business. She probably has an idea of how to deal with a lot of different types of men. And if he's not in this kind of criminal activity, he's at a disadvantage. She outsmarted every day of the week.
Right? Yeah, you know why he can't understand any of this? Because Samson, even though he still can see, he's blind. Blinded by love.
And love.
My love.
He's in love, and he's blind. Later on, he's really going to get blinded, but right now, he can't see anything. He's blind.
Yeah.
So now, what is the second lie that he told Delilah?
Mercy.
He says, what did he say, Cindy?
Let's see. If they bind me with new ropes that have never been used,
Yeah,
then I'll become weak.
He says, if they bind me tightly with new ropes, which have never been used, then I will become weak, and will be like other men, any other men. So Delilah took new ropes and bound him, and said to him, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. For the men were lying in wait in the inner room. He snapped the ropes like it was a thread.
Oh, man.
It was a thread.
Oh, man.
Okay? And Delilah said, up to now you have deceived me and told me lies. Tell me how you may be bound. And here's one that I don't understand. What happened? What is the third lie that Samson told Delilah? Why did he mention his hair? In the third lie, he mentioned, what's the third lie that he mentioned with his hair?
He says, you wait me with 7 locks on my head with a web and fasten them right with it, and that I shall become weak than other men.
Well, first of all, why did he mention his hair in the third lie?
That's where his strength lies too.
Okay, now, he mentioned his hair because he's beginning to weaken.
Right.
He's beginning to weaken. He's start to get closer to the truth. He's beginning to weaken. Okay? Because that's where his secret lies. He didn't tell her exactly the truth, but he's starting to weaken. Okay? So, now let's get back to what he said. He said, do what with his hair? What did he tell her to do?
You said to use it like thread for the loom. So weave it into the loom, like when you make a blanket, and you use a loom to do that.
Okay? He said, take the 7 locks of my hair and weave it. Take those 7 locks of hair and weave them together into a web or a loom, and then fasten it with a pin. Okay? Now, some say, as Sister Niece, that this is putting it into an actual loom with fabric. Or could it be that all he was telling her to do is was that he had 7 locks of his hair that were like braids. And all he was telling her to do is unbraid the 7 braids and weave all of those together into one braid and fasten it together with a pin. I don't know. This one always seems strange to me. Because it seems strange either way you think about it. Fasten his hair into a fabric like a loom? Doesn't that seem strange? How would that make him vulnerable? It's not like tying him up with a rope, or is it? I don't know.
And the question is, how long would it take for her to do that? I mean, he tried to slow her down, because she's coming at him.
Well, it says
How long did it
that
take
he
you?
was asleep while she did it.
So it took time. That's what I'm saying. And so now he had to do all that nasty. But you know, he's weak from the beginning, because women are, men and women are smart. Don't get me wrong, women are very smart. And a lot of times men's weaknesses is lust. And she used it, you know. That big love didn't have a chance.
So, we'll just go on from here. It just says that she said, the Philistines are upon you, and he woke up and just pulled out the pin of the loom from the web, and that was all it was to it.
Oh, man.
Must not have been too secure
No.
to binding him, and just pulled the pin out, and he was up and not bound very much. So it didn't seem like his hair was binding him too much. Okay? So, that was that. The 3 lies that he told her. Now things get real interesting.
Yeah.
So, what did Delilah say after Samson had lied to her 3 times? What did she say to him? Pam?
She says, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me?
Yeah.
And you mock me, and these times you have not told me where your strength was.
She said, you lied to me. You lied to me. You lied to me. How can you say you love me when you lied to me?
That gets intense there.
Yeah. Here she is plotting his overthrow, plotting to betray him for money, and she says, you lied to me.
Yes.
You don't love me.
Oh, boy.
How terrible of
Yeah.
her.
He's
So,
rough.
and then here is the real kicker. How did Delilah then get Samson to tell her? That didn't work.
Yeah.
How did Delilah then get Samson to tell her the truth? What is the real secret here?
Oh, boy.
Tawana. She pressed him day after day after day, on and on and on, saying, you don't love me, you don't love me, you lied to me, you won't tell me. And finally, what did Samson tell her?
Not a terror.
Samson told her, finally, he said to her, he says, I'll tell you. The secret is that I'm a Nazarite. The secret is my long hair. I'm not allowed to cut my hair. A razor's not allowed to come on my head. I've never cut my hair. If my head is shaved, says there, a razor has never come upon my head, for I am a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaved, then my strength will leave me, and I will become weak as any other man. And Delilah saw that he had told her from his heart, and that it was the truth.
I'm gonna ask a dumb question, but I gotta ask it. Do you think that when she's upset like this, that she gonna have a lot of camaraderie or be romantic with him when she's upset with him like this? And delay him when they're like this? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And he became weak, like me.
And absolutely.
I'm just trying to make it nice.
Yes, you're making it nice. Yes. She used her feminine wiles on him.
She used it though.
Yes. So he was conquered and blinded
Absolutely.
by his love
His love.
because he was weak. Okay? So then, because now she knows, she goes and sends a message to the Philistines and says, bring me my money. Because he's told me everything that's on his heart. Come up, you Philistines, come up and wait, because I know his secret now. And bring me my money.
She's a businesswoman.
So she made him fall asleep, and what did she do to him? She made him fall asleep, it says, on her knees.
Oh, she's tough.
And she had a guy come in and shave his head.
She's tough.
And she said, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. Samson woke up and says, no problem. I'm strong done. I got no problem. I'll go out just like any other time and defeat the Philistines. Uh-oh. No hair. So Samson was not able to go out and defeat the Philistines. So what happened to Samson? They bound Samson and they put out his eyes. So the irony there is that Samson was blinded by love, and ended up he was blinded by the Philistines.
Now see, when you talk about the marriage policy in the Israel family, a true Israelite woman and a true Israelite man who are married would never betray themselves to the enemy because they know they have to face God. This doesn't seem like there's anything about facing God at this point.
Well, let's go on. We got a lot more to cover. So anyway, the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, they brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze chains, and he was a grinder in their prison. However, it says his hair began to grow again after it was shaved off. Remember, they say it was shaved off. He shaved his head. The lords of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god. And they said, bring Samson, and he may entertain us at their temple. So they made a great feast, and they brought Samson to entertain them from the prison. And Samson said to the boy who was leading him, as he's blind, he said, let me feel the pillars, that I may lean against them. And Samson called to the Lord. When Samson called to the Lord, did God answer him? Yes. Samson said, let me be avenged with my 2 eyes. Let me die with the Philistines. Was Samson a man of faith? Hebrews 11 says so.
Yeah. It does.
He's named as a man of faith.
Right.
And he brought down the temple of the Philistines. It says he killed more in his death than he did during his lifetime.
Right.
And for a little time left in chapter 17, there was a man in Ephraim named Micah. And there was a little mishap about stolen silver. And he said, I stole the silver, mother. I stole all this silver. It was the same amount, 1,100 pieces of silver, just like in the story of Samson. Only you got to remember, this is not after Samson. This is at the beginning of the time of the judges. We got to go back to the beginning, not after Samson, in the beginning. So the man from Ephraim, Micah, said, I stole the silver, mother. And she said, okay, we don't want to curse on you. Bless my son of the Lord. She's taking back her curse. She says, we're going to take this silver. And what did they do with some of the silver? We're going to make us some idols. Oh boy.
Right.
And put them, what did Micah do with the idols? With the idols he made. I'm going to make a shrine in my house, and we're going to take my son, and what's he going to do? He's going to become my priest to worship these idols in my house. We're going to bow down to the idols in my house.
Right.
So, in Judges 17 and verse 6, why are the people doing things like this, it says, Pam?
Because they're doing everything in their own eyes. They're doing evil that was right in
Yeah,
their eyes.
it says that, Anise?
It says that they had no king. Well, basically what they did is they rejected God
Right.
as king.
Yeah, it says that people were doing whatever was right in their own eyes because there's no king to tell them, what to do. In other words, they're saying this is the time before the kings, so everyone did what was ever right in their own eyes. They're rejecting God,
Right.
is what it does say. They rejected God's law, so they're doing whatever they want to do. Okay? So this household of Micah is there, and some guy comes along, and he's a Levite. So what does Micah say to the Levite? Yeah, the Levite comes along, he comes to Micah, and Micah says,
Right.
well, you could be my Levite. Come here.
Right.
I got this shrine and these idols. You could be my priest. Can the Levite be a priest? No.
No.
The Levite can't be a priest, but for Micah, whatever. I do whatever I want to do anyway. So Micah says, be my priest. So what did Micah think about when he made the Levite a priest? What does it say when Micah made the Levite his priest?
Part of this shows not necessarily that he's just, I can do whatever I want. It's actually, he says, now God's going to be good because I have a Levite. They've just forgotten the way it was actually supposed to be.
Yeah, when Micah made the Levite the priest, he says, wow, this is going to be great for me. I've got a Levite, I've got a priest. Things are going to go great for me now. We're like, so it's showing us how these people in the time of the judges were doing whatever they wanted to do, any way they wanted to do, and it's just how terrible they were not following God. Is what it's showing us. So what's wrong with the way these people were thinking? What's wrong with all this? They're leaving God out. They're not doing what God wants them to do. They're doing anything they want to do. Can people think this way today?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
The same thing's happening today when people don't follow what God's word says.
Absolutely.
How does God want people to live today? Right here.
That's right.
God wants us to look at His Word and obey His commandments.
Right.
What has God given us today? John 20, verses 30 and 31. What does it say there? We should all have this kind of memorized. These signs are given so that we can believe that Jesus is the Son of God and have life in His name. That's what this is all about. This is what the plan of salvation is all about. So God hasn't given us, has left us a great things in His Word, has given us His Son, so that we can believe and have life in His name.
Yeah.
So we don't have to wander around and do anything we want to do. We have Jesus, have the Son of God. Thank you all. Our time's gone. Thank you all.